guys, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. Gemma here. I wanted to talk a little bit today about the importance of exposures with contamination OCD. Now, people with contamination OCD are absolutely terrified of doing exposures, understandably, because they are usually in a big cycle of avoidance and living their entire lives based on not touching certain things, not going certain places, not doing certain things because of the fear of contamination. And the fear of contamination isn't necessarily just, I feel dirty. It can also be, I think I'm going to pass something on to my loved ones and they're going to die, or I feel like people are going to be disgusted in me and reject me and I'm going to have no one, and I'm going to... It's not usually a case of, oh, I just don't like the feeling of that on my hands. You know, that's not contamination OCD, because it's not a severe black and white thing. You know, sometimes I don't like the feeling of things on my hands. Sometimes if I get a bit of honey on my hand or something, I'll be like, oh, that's gross, and I'll want to go and wash my hands. That's not contamination OCD. Contamination OCD is when you literally cannot stand that thing. Like, that thing just feels like the worst thing in the world to you, and therefore you do a compulsion, you do an avoidance behavior. You act as though it's life or death because it feels like that to you. It feels like there is nothing worse in the world right now than this thing. But that's why contamination fears need exposure, because you cannot just read the books, learn about disputing, learn about acceptance, and suddenly be cured from contamination OCD, suddenly be recovered from contamination. I should say recovered, not cured, because there's not a cure, but be recovered from contamination OCD. Because contamination OCD, the whole point of it is you're doing constant compulsive behaviors, you're avoiding things. So you have to go towards those things. Now, an exposure plan with contamination has to be quite consistent in the sense that you can't just do 1 or 2 exposures and expect that to be it. You know, say you're avoiding touching a certain thing. Let's say for this example, it's a t-shirt. That t-shirt you think is contaminated. You can't just touch that, get really anxious, not do a compulsion, and that's it. That's it, you're done. Like, you need to do that all the time. You need to be doing that every single day, at least, maybe even multiple times per day, to get you to a point where you actually feel comfortable with that. You can't just do it, be really anxious, and then go, okay, I've done it now, I must be better. Like, it is quite a long process. Yes, you can certainly do all the big ones in one go, and the others feel easier from then, but tend to work up on like a hierarchy. So, you know, if let's say you are scared of pesticides, but to the point where you won't even go into a shop that sells them. Okay, so we wouldn't say go into a shop that sells pesticides and touch it, or open up the bottle and stick your finger in it. Like, you wouldn't go from 0 to 100. You could, absolutely you could. I doubt you're going to want to. But if your level of avoidance is, I can't even leave the house because I'm so scared of like seeing pesticides or seeing someone spraying pesticides, or we would work up slowly with that. So, you know, first of all, you start leaving the house again, go for a little walk around the block, come home, don't take your shoes off, you know, come into the entrance hall with your shoes on, then take them off, don't clean them. It would just be a case of working up to the point where, yes, you are going into shops and you are picking up a bottle of pesticide, and it takes a while. It really does. But it's important to remain consistent. If you're not doing exposures when you have contamination OCD, you're not going to recover. It's not possible, because even if you're working on that belief, and in your mind that belief is not as extreme anymore, you're instilling it every single time you avoid something, or every single time you do a compulsive behavior, every single time you wash your shoes because they've touched the ground and there could be pesticide. You're instilling it every single time. So you have to do those exposures, those scary exposures, those really scary exposures, those really scary things are usually where recovery lies. The thing that you're avoiding is the thing that's going to help you. the thing that's going to progress you the most, because you're avoiding it because that's the thing you're most scared of. And we're trying to go towards the thing that you're most scared of. So that thing that you're currently not doing is the thing that is going to make a massive difference in your recovery journey. So go towards that thing. Yes, it's going to feel really uncomfortable, like the most uncomfortable you've ever been in your entire life. But that is short term. That feeling of discomfort isn't the rest of your life. But the rest of your life can be affected by not feeling that discomfort in the moment. The longer you feel uncomfortable for, the longer you feel discomfort, the more that feeling becomes comfortable. Uncomfortable becomes comfortable if you feel it for long enough, because that's just your natural state then. If I'm always uncomfortable, then I'm kind of comfortable like this, because that's just how I feel all the time anyway. So really push yourself with exposure work when you have contamination OCD, because that is usually the biggest part of it for contamination. Not so much with other fears, you know, sensory, motor, existential. There's not masses of exposure work you can do. Take advantage of the fact that you can do exposures, because you will make loads of progress with exposures. But there's quite a lot of fears where they don't have that. There's not exposure work to be done with some fears. Yes, of course, that they can work on their belief system, but that's something that takes a lot more time than exposure work can. With exposure work, you can make quite a lot of progress quite quickly with certain fears. So take advantage of that. You use that to your benefit. Thank you for watching, guys. If you want to inquire about coaching with OCD recovery, pop an email to phil@ocdrecovery.com, or the number for WhatsApp is on the screen now. Thank you.